Creative Health celebration event. It's great to have colleagues here from across our geography and who've been able to join us as part of celebrating this event and hearing more about this opportunity going forward. We plan and propose to record this session so that colleagues who may wish to join, and become involved at a later date can then watch the recording on our various platforms and to encourage the further work. It would be really helpful if colleagues in attendance could introduce themselves in the chat and perhaps give an indication of the organisation and geography they represent, because this helps us to understand our reach for this session. Please also feel free to use the chat function throughout, as we find that this is a great way to connect and share. So in terms of a brief introduction then, my name's Louise Dauncey. I'm a Network Delivery Manager for the Child Health and Wellbeing Network. My main role and responsibility is in relation to the Children and Young Persons Transformation Agenda and focus primarily on the deliverables of the NHS Long-Term Plan. I'm delighted to be here to welcome you to the event and to provide a whistle-stop tour of the network to set the scene before handing over to our chair for today. So if I could have next slide, please, Jade. So the Child Health and Wellbeing Network has an overriding vision which holds children and young people at the centre of all that we do. And our mission statement here outlines our belief that children should be given the opportunities to flourish and that we should enable this by system-wide organisations working cohesively together. And our role as a network is about sharing good practice and driving improvements and enabling various platforms and vehicles for connection. Next slide, please, Jade. I won't labour the detail on this slide because time is short, but just wanted to provide a bit of background and context. In the North East and North Cumbria, we have the largest ICS footprint and we have some significant levels of deprivation. The image on the bottom left here depicts public health fingertips data, and all the red identifies where we perform more poorly than our peers at the national average. And you can see that these indicators here are a range of indicators relating to childhood health and development. Next slide, please. Again, this demonstrates the significant levels of deprivation and socioeconomic challenge that exist within our geography. The key takeaway here from this slide is that for the first time ever in 2021, the North East rates of children living in relative poverty exceeded levels of those in London. In real terms, this could be demonstrated that in an average classroom of 30, more than 11 of them would be living in deprived communities. So I'd guess that just as a visualisation for colleagues recognising our levels of challenge. Next slide, please. We're acutely aware that the lifelong health impact of the childhood environment and that lifelong health inequalities take root in early childhood. The Institute of Health Equity has published a report that describes this in detail and looks in detail at fuel poverty and cold homes and provides some interesting information that aligns with our Core 20 framework, which you'll hear about more today, about those who are most vulnerable in our communities. And there's a link there on the slide to be able to access the report. Next slide, please. Again, I won't go into detail here, but this provides a link for colleagues and partners to review our Facts of Life report, which pulls together a range of publicly available information from the Public Health Fingertips platform and provides some helpful data and baseline evidence regarding the levels of deprivation and challenges in our local geography. And it breaks it down there by local education authority boundary. Next slide, please. So this image here is our priorities wheel. So our network focuses on the needs of children and young people, and as such, the children and young people are at the heart of everything that we do. Initial stakeholder engagement that was undertaken as part of the establishment of the network has given us a range of priorities and areas of need that are identified here in this wheel. I won't talk in great detail about these, but for those colleagues who work and live in our geography, none of these will be a surprise to you in terms of areas of need. We've identified a series of enablers and cross-cutting themes, and you will see here that art and creativity is highlighted as one of these themes. Next slide, please. Again, I won't go into too much detail, but this slide provides some local context around our children and young persons population data and also gives colleagues an indication of the size of our geography. Next slide, please. So our network is growing and has broad representation from across the system and from children's workforce. The visualisation here provides a breakdown of our membership, and you can see that we currently have a membership of over 1,900 people. And we want to highlight that within our Fold and Wider team, we have an apprentice called Adam who's supported by Head Starters based in Middlesbrough. He's engaged in our work and provides expert input to our professional groups. And Adam brings knowledge and lived experience around care leavers and children looked after. Next slide, please. So this provides some food for thought for the group. This is in relation to our network. It's our underpinning aim. We work really hard to advocate for children, young people and families, and it's our moral and professional duty to do so. This is a quote here from Sir Al Ainsley Green, and essentially this has become our sort of modus operandi and our day-to-day moral compass. So without further ado, I'll hand to Heather Corlett, who will chair the session. Heather is our programme lead for the Child Health and Wellbeing Network and is our executive board lead and member for the Arts and Creativity workstream. Heather, over to you.
Lovely, thanks ever so much, and Louise, and good morning everyone. I can't tell you how delighted I am to be here today, to be part of this, our first huddle, and Louise showed you there our wheel of priorities and arts and creativity as a cross-cutting theme, and to think that we're now here having a huddle around these Creative Arts Awards. So the purpose of today is simple and threefold. It's to celebrate, which is fabulous and exciting. So we're going to celebrate these inaugural awards, and it's going to be great because we're going to springboard into the next year as well. So part of that, the second purpose is around sharing the great practice. And so we've got some fabulous examples, 5 examples that we're sharing today. But more importantly, out of all of these, I think it's the third purpose of the day. And that's for us to gather more information, gather more interest into this creative health community. And so one of the really important things today is the recording that was mentioned earlier, because we're hoping as more people come to apply for the Creative Health Awards for 23-24, they'll look back on this recording to get a flavour of, well, what was the foundation year like? What were those projects and what was the discussion like? So it's really important that we reflect that in what we share along with us today. So on the next slide, we have a few words on what creative health is, and I'm hoping we're going to have some more discussion about that a bit later. But there's a definition there, and it's something we'll come back to. But I think ultimately that final little statement at the bottom is about active engagement with arts and culture. And this is from a health perspective, where through our own creative practice and through our enjoyment of the creative practice of others, it's beneficial to health and well-being for us all. So I think that's really important. You've seen the agenda earlier up in the slides, and basically we're going to hear from some creative health roles in our region. I think lots of other people look at our region and are quite excited to see what we're developing here. We're going to hear from the other projects, then we're going to have some discussion, and then finally we're going to announce next year's awards process as well. So that's it really from me on the purpose of today. So now I'm going to go over, and our next slide is to to look at those Creative Health Awards roles. So I'll just intro both Martin and Alice that are going to speak in this session. Martin's is a recording, but Martin's worked in the arts and culture within the northeast of England for over 25 years, and he's the director of Tint Arts in Durham. He started working with us at the Child Health and Wellbeing Network in 2019, and he's been an active part of the STAR project. And he is now in his second year of the Arts and Creativity Advisor to the network. So we're delighted to have Martin with us. We're also delighted to have Alice in her role, and her role is a nationally mandated role, and it crosses a region that is larger than ours. But Alice is an experienced charity and arts leader with a strong commitment to supporting communities in the Northeast. She's got a wealth of experience advocating for and developing arts and health projects in the region and in arts and health policy development. So whilst Jade is pulling up Martin's recording of his role. I'll just remind everyone, can you please pop things in the chat, any questions, because we'll come to them later in the discussion, and do tweet as well with the hashtag Creative Health NENC, which stands for North East and North Cumbria, the geography that Louise highlighted earlier. So thank you, Jade, and over to Martin, and then Alice.
Hello, my name is Martin Wilson, and I am the Arts and Creativity Advisor for the network. I'm sorry I can't be with you today for this great celebration of amazing creative health projects and activities with young people from across our region. I just wanted to take the opportunity and take a moment to tell you a little bit about my role as Arts and Creativity Advisor, as well as encouraging you all to get in touch and to connect me when you can. As the Arts and Creativity Advisor, I really believe passionately there is a great mutual benefit when health professionals and organisations and the arts and cultural sector come together to collaborate. My role is about creating the space for and the methods by which this can happen, so that creative health work across our region is richer and reaches those who can benefit most from this work. I'm excited to discover and share wider the excellent work happening across our region, such as the kind of programs and projects hopefully you're all sharing and talking about and getting excited about today. So please sign up to be a member of the network if you haven't already. You can reach out to me directly using the email address england.northernchildnetwork@nhs.net, and we can get a conversation and a coffee and hopefully some cake. And let's work together to expand the range of creative health projects across our region that ultimately can lead to healthier lives and healthier communities. I look forward to hearing from you soon, and I hope the rest of the event goes well. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alice. Thanks for the introduction, Heather. I hope everyone could get what Martin was saying. He is a fantastic advisor to have in this role. I'm very new in post. I'm actually working for the National Centre for Creative Health, which is quite a new body, but I'm hosted by the ICB, which is fantastic because it's a strategic role, and it means that everything around arts and health and creative health is getting a much bigger profile now. I think the evidence base is now so great that people in health are beginning to realise the importance of arts and creativity all the way through the life course. There is an evidence summary that Dr. Daisy Fancourt did at the University College London, UCL, in 2020, and this showed the evidence to suggest that engagement in the arts can help reduce inequalities in health outcomes. So that having that evidence base is really important. Can I have the next slide, please? So, and another one, please. So my role is really about bringing the sectors together. And what's exciting about the network that you have is it really is one of the first to be connecting people in this way and actually having a focus on what we used to call arts and health and is now called creative health. So my role is very much to listen to what all the projects that you've been doing and advocate for them at board level, and look at focusing on the health inequalities and prevention. That's the particular area that obviously the ICB is interested in. And then also identify partnerships. So I'll be looking at supporting Martin really, and you all, I hope, to make sure more of this work happens and is connected up. And Heather's doing a brilliant job in terms of raising the profile as well. And I think what's great about these awards is that they will go on to really profile the best projects in the region. Part of my role is acting as an interpreter and translator between arts and health. So working with the arts organisations as well, which a lot of you in education will have been working with. And trying to there's a connection between arts, health and education, and making sure that all of those languages, that we understand each other, to make sure that because there's so many commonalities, but the languages are often different. So at the heart of it is ensuring that people have a better health outcomes, better educational outcomes, and part of that is through working with arts organisations and creative organisations, because there's so much about those ways of working that can support people as individuals and as creatives. So can I have the next slide, please? So the barriers in the scale of the region, even though I'm actually supposed to be working across the northeast, North Cumbria and Yorkshire. So that's why networks are so important, and gathering people together who are doing things individually, but seeing the commonalities and seeing this as a social movement. There is a lack of understanding of the benefits, and I think that's something that we need to really address, that people often see the arts and creativity as nice to do, rather than an effective part of either education or health, and it's not seen as being essential. And I think what we need to do, all of us who are here obviously feel the importance of it, see it as an essential part of our work life, and to support children and young people by doing these fantastic creative projects actually supports a lot of education and health. So those are the barriers, but I think together we can overcome them, because we can raise the profile of the work, and something like the awards are going to definitely do that. So I'm very excited to hear about all the projects that are coming up. I think that might be it. Oh, these are aligning key strategic themes. So these are the areas that I'll be looking at. Obviously not just child health and wellbeing, but although that is very central to it, across public health, mental health and long-term health conditions. We're also looking at workforce support. So it's a huge area, but we really have got some amazing people working in the region, who both the arts organisations and people in health who are interested in this work. So I realise I've taken more than my 1 minute. I think that's Martin, introducing Martin. We've heard from him, and he is going to be a great support to you all, I hope. And these are the things that can be achieved. We really need the culture sector to have a better understanding of creative health commissioning, and we need public health teams to work more closely with culture teams, which is also around education. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing about. Thank you. This is me. If you want to get in touch, do let me know about what you're doing. Thanks, Heather.
Lovely. Thanks ever so much, Alice. Some really important points, and I can't wait to come back on especially some of those challenges and barriers in the discussions that we're having later today. And please, just a reminder, do pop questions whilst they're fresh in your heads now into the chat to use later as part of the discussion. But some really key points there. Thanks, Alice. And we are cruel, 1 minute really. So we now come over to Mel Burgess, and Mel represents a new partnership that we've got with an organisation that we'll refer to as TWAM. And for those that aren't aware of the acronym, it's there in the red box: Tyne and Wear Archives and Museums. And we're delighted with this new partnership and their commitment to these awards for the next 3 years. And Mel's going to introduce our innovations from 22-23. And you can see Mel there is a programme manager at the Regional Cultural Learning within TWAM. And between 2015 and 2023, TWAM was part of Arts Council England and their Bridge Network and Culture Bridge North East. Many of you will be familiar with that. So I'm delighted to hand over to Mel now, and then she will join us later to talk about the 23-24 programme. Thanks, Mel.
Thank you, Heather. Good morning, everybody. I'm really excited to present to you this year's entrants for the award. So if we could have the next slide, please, Jade. So here are our foundation year innovations. And the first one is Dunn Street Primary School in partnership with Elizabeth Kane and their project Creating Conversations Through Creativity. Elliott Smith Dance in partnership with St Mark's RC Primary School and St Teresa's Catholic Primary School and their contemporary dance and sustainability work. Bridgewater Community Primary School and their SEMH Art Intervention. Evergreen Primary School and their Performing Arts Innovation. And last but not least, Tin Arts in partnership with Steel River Academy Trust and the South Tees Arts Project, or the STAR Project.
Thank you, Mel. And I don't want to delay proceedings, but we need to have a special word for Chris. So Chris Drinkwater, as you can see, is the patron of these awards. And he's our former arts and creativity lead here at the Child Health and Wellbeing Network up until March this year when he stepped down. And today wouldn't have happened without Chris and his passion for both the arts and wanting to improve the young people's lives in our region, and in particular the importance of engaging them whilst still quite young in that primary school age, which is why we have the focus into that. So Chris, thank you so much for requesting this focus and as your legacy for the generous time that you've given the network. And Chris has got so many accolades, and he's a professor, he's got CBE, he worked as an inner city GP in Newcastle for 23 years. He was our voluntary sector lead within the network, and you can see in the biography that we've shared. So we're just delighted that he still comes back and joins us. And over to you, Chris, to announce the winner of today's awards. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Heather, and thank you for that very flattering introduction. I'm certainly sort of very honoured, humbled, and flattered that you've decided to give my name to this award, and long may it continue. But before I go any further, a big thank you to you, Heather, and to the rest of the team for pulling this all together. And a particular thank you to Jade, who's sitting behind the slides here, doing next slide, and was also responsible for all the design work that sits behind all of this. For those of you who've known me, I've sort of banged on for quite some time now about the need to replace STEM, science, technology, education and maths, and to repackage it as STEAM with the arts and creativity as an equal partner. Why are the arts and creativity so important? Well, Alice has already alluded to the evidence base, but if you look at sort of social and emotional learning and the skills required, the social and emotional skills that young people require to be a success in life, then I think my view would be that the arts and creativity are essential to the development of social and emotional skills. And social and emotional skills have a very clear link to future health and well-being. So that's really the mission. I think the only other thing to say about this is the focus really has to be on those who are most disadvantaged. Those who are most disadvantaged don't necessarily have the opportunities that some of their better off peers have to access all sorts of activities outside school. And so schools are an essential part of linking in to the arts and the creative health to give these young children who don't have these opportunities the opportunity to develop their creative skills and actually in the long term to go on and find employment in creative health roles. So that's my sort of pitch. And without further ado, I'd like to announce the prize winner as Dunn Street Primary School, and I'd like to hand over to Michelle, who is going to give you a flavour of what they've been doing. The reason they were the prize winner is they pulled together three things: one, an artist; two, the school; and three, the parents and children, because the parents, and one of the reasons we focused on primary schools is you have much better opportunities in primary school to engage the parents, because what happens at home is as important as what happens in the school. Michelle, over to you.
Hi everyone, thank you. Thanks for that. That was a nice surprise to have. Just the introduction from me. I'm Michelle Trotter. I'm Early Years and Key Stage 1 lead for Dunn Street Primary School and Blue Skies Federation. I'm also RSE lead and arts lead for the school. A little bit about obviously the project and things and how it really got started was back end of last summer term. We applied to be part of the LSEP, a local cultural educational partnership with South Tyneside, to really develop something within our school and be part of something to make a difference really for our local community. A little bit about context of Dunn Street and where it sits, if you don't know. It sits in the area of Jarrow, which is a Primrose area of South Tyneside. A huge area of deprivation. Our ward level data shows red flags for absolutely everything, including drugs, alcohol addiction, unemployment, and very poor mental health. We also, our community is in the category of third generational now unemployment. So a lot of the thinking behind before we took part in the project was actually how we can support families and our children to raise aspirations for the future. So the application process started a little bit like that, really looking at that of what we could do. Coming back, I mean, talking about Dunn Street again, is we're up to about 67% now of our children receive free school meals in receipt of pupil premium. We're a very small school, about 130 on roll, and we've got 68% of those children who are receiving free school meals. Thinking back to COVID as well, pre-COVID, our children in the early years were already starting school with skills that were lower than their peers. Since COVID, that has severely been impacted again, and actually that gap has widened. And we know that children's early years and early life experiences from 0 to 5 are actually the most crucial phase of their lives. You will never learn as much in your life as you will from your age of 0 to 5. So we knew that the project would need to take into consideration our early years children, our youngest children that have been impacted, and that a way of trying to get parents and families and the local community supporting school, getting them in school, building those relationships were going to be really important for us as part of the project. So the idea came about that we would run a project, and I would want the project to be for a sustained period of time. It wasn't going to be worthwhile just doing sort of a week's project. Actually, what we wanted as a school was for parents and children to work together on a weekly basis over a full term, which actually was going to be around 14 weeks in total. Then after we knew that we definitely wanted something with parents, we needed it to be something that parents would want to come to and work with their children, and it wasn't going to be really scary coming into school and working alongside teachers and artists. So we knew that that initial recruitment would be quite sort of challenging for parents. So once we had discussions with Elizabeth Kane, who is a visual artist, who you can see on screen there. We came up with the opportunity to have a creative creating conversations with creativity project, and that really the whole aim of the project would be a time to talk and a time to collaborate. These were some of the ideas that you've seen on screen now of what we were really hoping to aim for the project. Can we create playful sessions, support parents, helping them understand the importance of their role as the first educator of their children? Can we increase engagement through having weekly sessions? A lot of our parents in our community have really low self-esteem, have no self-confidence, can't believe in themselves. So that was really important for us as well, to believe that actually they are a crucial part of their child's life and education, and that they can absolutely make a difference even though when they're feeling at the lowest point. So this formed the basis really of what the next sort of 12 to 14 weeks would be. I then recruited parents with unknowing what they were coming to. Really, they were coming into the project blind. They didn't know what they were signing up for. They just knew that they were coming for a secret event and that it was going to be so much fun. Once they were at the event, of course, they were hooked in, and they knew that they were going to work with their child every single week. So they knew that they wanted to work with their child every week and come back, and that's kind of kept their engagement going throughout the project. It was a relatively small cohort of children, so there was 24 mixed age class. So we had about 14 regular parents each week attending those sessions, which obviously was extremely positive for us to have those parents and those children working together every week. We knew that they were going to work with myself, they were going to work with Elizabeth, they were going to work with their child, and that really, starting school, they hadn't really formed those relationships yet with other people. And first of all, that first day was really about getting to know each other. It's a really scary time, I think, for parents standing in a schoolyard and not knowing people, not knowing the community they've sort of signed the school up to, their child up to, sorry. So that sort of formed the foundations of the project, of a time to sort of talk and get to know each other. Throughout each week, Elizabeth focused on a different art project, a different way of motivating the children, motivating the parents to really work together and really believe in themselves. This photograph actually is parents sort of sitting together. So we always, at the start of each session, had a time that parents would come together first, and then the children would be brought in. So they had a time to chat to Elizabeth, time to chat to myself without the children coming, and then the children came, and then actually that's when the creative sessions really began between the parents and the children. I mean, this picture here is really the kind of journey that they went on, and it kind of says it all for what we really aimed for in the project. It was, you know, confidence boosting, they boosted creativity, it was collaborative, it was sharing experiences with each other, it was a time to laugh, you know, which a lot of parents have real struggles in our area. It was a time to learn new skills for adults. Some believed that they couldn't, you know, engage in any art activity, but actually they found new skills and found new joy really through those. And then obviously problem solving skills as well. They had to problem solve. They had to put themselves, these parents who, you know, find it difficult, I would say, to communicate, would come and have to really communicate with those parents and those children within that session each week. And the most important for me, and why it's in block capital letters, is the time. We give parents and children time together, time in their busy lives. A lot of our families have, you know, they have large families as well, so actually it was one-on-one time together. The impact that it had, some of the quotes from the parents at the end really were that, you know, it was something to look forward to each week. One parent actually said it was something to get out of the house for. It was a chance to meet people, and for a lot of the parents said that it was a time to spend with myself as well, which, you know, being an educator on drop-offs and home times and things, it's incredibly busy, but actually they had that time to spend with me, involved and all sort of learning together. So that was the main impact really of the project. We've seen increased engagement, and have continued to see increased engagement with the parents. Now those parents are at every single event we put on at school. They are there, and they are sort of our champions really going through the school, because that was their early years, and our theory behind it was, if we lock them in now, throughout the rest of their 7 years of school life, they will continue to come and support the school and be involved and engaged and want to come to things. you know, where they will learn new things, and it won't be as scary sort of taking that leap through the school door. Obviously, we had a huge amount of parental uptake. I feel like confidence grew with the parents as well. It made it easier for relationships to build with myself and with the school. And I could see the child, one of the main things, obviously, that picture at the end, the child and the parent relationships really flourishing throughout that period of time. And I think that's it. I didn't time myself for too long.
That is perfect timing. Thank you so much. And you've got some lovely feedback in the chat there, and especially on the photographs and the images and what they portray. And I particularly love the family engagement. And you said yourself there at the end how important that is, because you've got a relationship to build on throughout their lifetime journey with the school. So thank you very much for that. And we're starting to see some questions. So if you look at them in the chat, and we'll come back to them later in the discussion. And many congratulations. Sorry, should have been the first thing I said. And I have been trying to do the reaction that you can do in Teams as well. And congratulations to you and your team back at the school. So lovely. We now go on to our highly commended projects. And we had, along with Chris, we had two panel members, Wendy and Kate. Now, I didn't think Kate could join us, but I can see that she's popped something in the chat, so she must have been able to dip in. I will say welcome to you both, and to thank you for your valuable part in assessing the entrance along with Chris. So thank you very much to that. Kate has been an education advisor previously to the network and is a headmistress up at St Joseph. So I know that she has got a meeting, so can't stay for the full event, but great to see you popping some comments in the chat there. And also, I will hand over to Wendy Kelly. Wendy is also a fabulous support at the network. She comes from the public health team down in South Tees. And we've already heard today, especially from Alice, the importance of the relationship with public health in our work. She is a great supporter of the network. She chairs our engagement group. And we'd invite any members today that want to add to the breadth of our engagement group from an artistic perspective and from a schools perspective, do contact us about that. So Wendy, as lead for children and young persons emotional wellbeing in South Tees, and also one of the founder members of the Head Start project, which we've already heard mentioned earlier today. Can I hand over to you to announce the highly commended two projects that we'll hear before the break today?
Yeah, you can, Heather. Morning, everybody. I'm delighted to have been involved in this project. As Heather said, I'm the lead for children's emotional wellbeing across South Tees, and I'm a great advocate for the use of creativity in providing support for children and young people. So can I have the next slide, please? So each of the highly commended projects will each receive funding of £500, which will be absolutely fantastic for them, I'm sure. And if we go to the next slide, I'll introduce the first of those projects who have been awarded highly commended status. So I'm delighted to say that Elliot Smith Dance in partnership with St Mark's and St Teresa's have been awarded highly commended. And there's some comments from the judges panel below there. That the judges felt that the project had clear outcomes in relation to social and emotional wellbeing, alongside the educational element of the work relating to sustainability and the environment. There was also some evidence of some great cross-sector working within this project. As a public health professional, I was really glad to see as well that the wider health inequalities topics of cardiovascular health and obesity were also included in this project. So it was absolutely great to see the links there between mental health and physical health. And my particular thing, if you like, is a resilience approach and using a variety of protective factors to make sure that young people have the resilience to be able to cope with difficult circumstances and to be able to really enjoy their life. And I really feel that this project demonstrated that in a number of ways. The project clearly taught the children new skills, and that was everything from dance to performance, which was brilliant. They had the opportunity to explore culture, heritage, belonging. And they also the project gave pupils the opportunity to discover their own attributes and skills and be able to showcase those talents. So I thought it was a really, really good, robust resilience approach. So without stealing any more of his thunder, can I hand over to Elliot Smith, who's going to talk to us a little bit more in detail about the project.
Great, thank you so much, and it's a real pleasure to be here. I'm Elliot Smith, and I'm the Creative Director of Elliot Smith Dance, based in Gateshead, which is a professional dance company. But we find ourselves increasingly taking our work to communities and thus enabling participants whom dance is new and invigorating to experience the creativity it can bring. This approach, which is inclusive, recognises different ages, abilities, talent, and degrees of fitness. Most recently, ESD delivered multiple dance workshops for a cohort of up to 20 children at 2 primary schools, St Mark's Primary and St Teresa's Primary in the Newcastle upon Tyne area, who don't normally have access to contemporary dance or might face numerous disadvantages to take part in their first opportunity to engage with contemporary dance, connecting closely also to one of the biggest challenges of our time, climate change and its impact on the environment. The result was a short theatrical performance in their school for their family, friends and teachers, including online. The workshops provided participants in the community to be active, be creative, and as a confidence building experience with the added benefit of meeting friends and working with supported professional dancers based in their community. The project also aimed to broaden and diversify children and young people living in Newcastle and the surrounding areas with the potential in contemporary and other dance styles, to provide pathways to nurture and develop new talent whilst learning about climate change and making their community greener. This also led ESD winning the first ever Green Dance Award at the prestigious One Dance UK Awards in 2022. And sadly, 2 of the participants of the schools are not here, but I'm pleased to say they would like to share on their behalf. Catherine Mackenzie, the Deputy Head Teacher at St Teresa's Primary School, says, working with Elliot Smith has provided the school and pupils with specialist provision to enhance our curriculum, provided evidence towards our application for the Arts Mark Award, and developed aspirations for our pupils in the future. And we are very grateful to receive this award in partnership with Elliot Smith Dance. Kate McKenna, Head Teacher of St Mark's Primary School, says, it has been such a joy to welcome and work with Elliot Smith Dance and to witness our children, who some have never danced before, to be able to be inspired and use dance, music and the environment as a means to capture their unearthed talents. We look forward to working with Elliot Smith Dance this term, and thank you for this award. This term, ESD aims to widen its reach by delivering similar projects in the Westerhope area of Newcastle and highlighting the rivers of Newcastle and its impact on the environment. And on behalf of ESD, I am personally very grateful for receiving the highly commended Creative Health Award with partnerships with St Mark's and St Teresa's Primary School, including all of the other schools ESD has had the opportunity to collaborate with. Dance is a universal language. It can transform lives, bring communities together, champions culture and heritage, and create a space for inspiration to grow. And I personally know that, coming from a background in an area which dance wasn't accessible to where I am now today. So if possible, Jade, would you be able to show our small clip to give you a bit of evidence about what we've been up to?
Did you know we are all connected with nature, including our emotions, attitudes and behaviour? Nature looks different to how it used to be. This has happened due to climate change. I was about 7 years old when I first heard about global warming and climate change. I learned about climate change in school. What can I do to help fight climate change? I turn off the lights to save energy. I recycle paper to save resources. I travel to school on my bike. I walk to school. I catch the bus. I catch the metro. And guess what? We have some ideas and a message for global businesses to help fight the climate crisis.
It starts today!
Let's go all electric now. Don't cut trees down. Let's plant more trees. Use the power from the wind and the sun. More sustainable farming and buy locally in our city. Let's just stop polluting. Everything's dull and dying now.
Protect our water. And we have plenty more where that comes from.
Please, 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 I'm worried about our future.
And my grandchildren.
Take a good look at the beauty around you. Let's clean up the land and the sea. Every person, every creature, every tree. And you too. Let's use what the planet provides us.
It can be done.
People from all over the city and across the world, we must come together and work as one. This is our city, our world, our home. Trust us, you'll miss it when it's gone.
Climate change affects all of us.
To all of you.
Let's do something good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Wow,
Ellie.
lots
That
of
was
applause.
such a powerful video, wasn't it? Okay, so congratulations. So could we have the next slide, please? So I'm delighted to announce that the next project to receive highly commended status is Bridgewater Community Primary School for Social, Emotional, Mental Health Art Intervention. The judges' comments were that the project had a great ability to trigger emotional connections throughout, with a focus on SEND pupils. The judges felt that we would have liked to know more about the outcomes as seen by the work undertaken by the educational psychologist as part of the project. And as the project develops, we think there would be further opportunities for involvement with families. Another great resilience-based approach, I think the standout elements for myself was it had that learning element around introducing the pupils to artists and the work of the artist as a way to trigger thinking about feelings and emotions. And I think that the provision of a safe space, a secure space, a supportive environment can't really be underestimated in terms of engaging with children, especially those who've got any additional needs, and enabling them to express their thoughts and emotions in a way that they probably couldn't have if they hadn't have used art, perhaps, finding it difficult to articulate in words. So I would like to hand over to Jenny Stoker, the Deputy Head of Bridgewater School, who is going to do a presentation about the project. Thanks, Jenny, and congratulations.
Hi there, thank you. It's wonderful to be here, and congratulations to everyone else involved today. It's amazing hearing about all your stories too. Bridgewater is in inner city Newcastle, and we have high levels of deprivation, as we've already spoken about. Those barriers, those adverse childhood experiences. I've been here 10 years now, and it remains a really exciting place to work and to feel like you're really making a difference. And I learn more from the children than they probably learn from me and the families. I think it is wonderful to be, and a privilege to be here. So the class we chose were approached by the Education Psychology Service, and I had a class in mind who had high levels of SEMH across the whole school. But in this particular class, there were very high levels, and there were children who weren't getting on with each other, that their needs tended to dysregulate each other. And that how do we get these children to understand their own emotions? And this came along as a wonderful opportunity. And one, as we said earlier, that we hope will roll and then impact more children and families as time goes on. And so all the aims are up there. I kept referring to it as art therapy, but art therapy is a very specific thing. So the psychologist thing, it's SEMH art intervention. We're using art to promote the children's social and emotional well-being. It's getting them to look and to appreciate art and learn that emotional vocabulary. And then, within that safe space, but then they would have a whole class art session where they would express themselves through a range of media, but then they'd get the opportunity to talk through the art they've created. So in terms of other therapies like Lego therapy, it had a real feel of that as well, where the children were expressing their emotions through another media. It just made it a little bit more removed from talking about themselves too personally. So there was a group counselling feel about it, but also that connectedness, and you feel like that, but I also feel like that. And there were some children who weren't diagnosed as having SEMH, who, they were really calm and collected on the surface, had, things going on underneath there, which a lot of people do, and it's about talking about mental health really, okay to do, and we all have mental health and we all have emotional needs, and just started that conversation. And last week when I was asking the children for some quotes and some, do they still remember it? Do they still use it? Oh, yeah, can we come on and talk? I said, well, you can't do that. But they're still really enthused about it. So all of the aims are up there on the screen now. One of the developing emotional regulation strategies that comes in right in the early years as part of the early years framework. And we have a real focus on that throughout our school, all the way up to year 6 and beyond. We use the zones of regulation, so we felt that this really fitted in with our whole school aims there. So we'll move on to the next slide, please. So the intervention took place over 6 weeks, and like I said, we selected a class with a high range of SEMH needs. The intervention it opened up conversations about feelings and the children in ourselves and in our lives. The interest in their aspirations too, and even some of the most reluctant and shy children talked about how they were feeling. One of the examples up on the screen there, a little girl said this: we're expected to look happy on the inside, on the outside, but it's chaos on the inside and people don't see everything that's going on. And this is a little girl who's from a large family who comes in and just gets on every day, who wasn't one of the focused children who we were particularly worried about. So it was really, got those children talking who might have been a little bit under the radar. So it was really helpful for that. The next slide, please. So here's some more examples. So you see this little girl's drawn a house, and it was about her hope for the future, and she used red as a warm colour. So she talked about herself and her friend with the stick figures. She used lollipop sticks and how they were going to get a house together when they were older. There's also a little girl there who she drew her home country's flag, and she talks about her pride in her home country. And there's lots of different emotions that were coming out, and the children were sharing with each other and with the staff as well. Next slide, please. So these are, like I say, Jill, the teacher, and Tia, Jill and Siobhan were so excited and they really wanted to come on today, but I've taken these quotes from them. They said they had some really unexpected insights to the children's inner worlds. And I've mentioned that one already about the little girl who feels that she can't show it on the outside. She's expected to perform as one of the older members of the family. Another child who does have particular difficulties with her emotions. She's on a pathway to be assessed for autism and ADHD. She described, there was a bridge on one side, bridge to the other, and she sometimes feels like it's difficult to work through the water. She sometimes has difficulty understanding her own feelings and that of others. So that really expressed what she was going through at that time. There was a boy who drew a dark hole with colours around the outside, and he talked about the sadness that's inside and the colours out with. The sessions gave the children the creativity to create something that meant and represented part of them, and the opportunity to talk to each other about how they perceive certain situations. So it really then did sort of, that cohesion within the class, we did feel, was then improved in terms of them getting on with each other. A lot of these children experienced, as I said, the parental mental health issues and drug and alcohol abuse and domestic abuse. So it was all, it helped them to understand emotions and getting on with each other also. So it felt like it did have a positive impact. For some, it was that sense of, we do sometimes don't feel alone and not interconnected, and feeling lonely is something that we all feel at times, and that it's okay to feel those feelings. And they were then saying, oh, you do something similar, so there would be a talking point. So next slide, please. So this is one of the things that the teacher said, that the children were always really excited for the next session. So the first session was supported by an educational psychologist, and the final session was, and the ed psych was on hand to talk to the teacher throughout. They had Zoom meetings and constantly emailing each other as well throughout. So it was that sort of expertise there, but I think it's really skilled up the staff to then use this going forward. For one child, like I've already mentioned, it brought out her pride in her home country and culture, and she felt like she could talk about that. For another child, she drew scenes of landmarks, and she talked about a real aspiration to travel and see the world. Another child, he said, I made a person who was lonely with stars at the back, and that's me. I'm sometimes lonely, and it felt good to talk about it. Another child, she said it was amazing. She gave us fun objectives using the art materials, helped us to talk about our emotions. And we feel as I said previously, the legacy of the project is that teacher and TA are now trained in how to use this with the current class. And we're also hoping for the other Year 5 teacher in the year group and her TA to be trained this year and to do the project again. So we really feel that it's something that we'll continue to use as part of our repertoire, and I think involving families is a great way to use it in the future.
Fabulous. That is amazing. What a powerful first half of our huddle we've had, and congratulations. And I'm blown away by all three of those presentations, and there's lots of amazing comments in the chat, so please do take the time to read and respond to those. But really amazing. But we are not there yet. We've still got 2 more amazing projects to hear about after the comfort break. And we do encourage you to have the comfort break, but also we're using the opportunity to share another clip that Alice shared with us from the South Tees area, and I think it really highlights the importance of the wide reach of the arts and the real impact it can bring. So we'll play that whilst you're on the comfort break. But congratulations everyone, we're bob on time. It's 11 o'clock, so we'll be back about 11:05. Thank you, Jade, for sharing that.
Coming to this group's done more, all the CBT and counselling and all the things that I've done before, because it lifts you up without bringing up all the problems that you've had. Coming here has helped me realise that I still have skills and there is a whole world out there that I can still explore in my own way. I'm doing way better now than I have been for years, to be honest.
I'm suffering from sciatica. That gets me really down. I feel hopeless sometimes. If I didn't come to these activities, I wouldn't know what to do. It just makes your day.
I was a person that suffered with low self-esteem, low self-confidence. I was nervous about meeting people. I have anxiety and depression. My anxiety would just go sky high. But then as soon as you come to this group, it comes down because of all the positive people around you.
I joined just to get my self-esteem up, and now it's my happy place.
The creative process is really, really important, and that process of engagement and exploration and thinking is a really, really important part of what helps people rediscover themselves, connect with other people, learn their own value.
COVID's been hard for all of us. I had a tough time because I lost my mum and I lost my sister. But just being able to come and sing and just let all of that out was amazing.
I suffer from anxiety, I take medication. You're so uplifted and you're lost in the music.
Robert's dad and my husband died middle of April 2020. I don't really know what we would have done without it, to be honest. You come away feeling so much better, and life is so much better now.
Sometimes I don't get up from bed for the whole day or for a whole week because of the pain. Sometimes when I think about it, it makes my head crack. But for me not to get worked up, I will start drawing. Erase the noise out of my mind.
I used to suffer a lot with back pain, and for that couple of hours while you're here, you forget everything, you don't feel any pain.
I feel like I kind of leave a little bit of me here, and when I go home, I feel very rested.
I don't feel my disability. I forget it completely, so that builds me up and regenerates me for the whole week.
Ideas for the design of the garden came from the NHS and this thing of arms around us, so people could come up here and get some relief.
Just having time to see the colour, how it changes at different times of the day is very, very important for the recovery of patients.
Uplifting patients, bring a little bit of light into their life.
Art can bring something unexpected. It brings life and it brings a bit of wonder. That's got to add to your potential for recovery.
I got a Hullabaloo pack just after Stanley was born. It shows you ways to play with them, even from being a newborn, which I think when you're a first-time mom, you don't really know how to do that. I think it takes away a lot of the pressure, and I found that doing just general tasks with him, like changing him and things like that, with song, just made everything so much easier.
There's so much more potential to build creativity in what we do, and in doing that, enrich the people's lives that we're here to help and support, and also build sustainability for the creative sectors. It could be fantastic.
The adrenaline gets pumping, then I just let fly.
It just makes me feel really happy when I'm here.
Having that little bit of happiness can kind of help you through those bad times. This group changes lives.
It's the best thing I ever did.
Creating group is the best.
Jade, if we can move the slide on, I think we're at about 11:05. So to carry on with our immaculate timekeeping, Alice can start on time. Thank you.
Is everyone back? So we've got the next highly commended slide, please. Brilliant. So the next highly commended, that's been such a wonderful morning so far, is the Evergreen Primary School Performing Arts Innovation. And the judges said this project has future potential and shows benefits it could bring to more pupils within a SEND setting. As the project develops, it'll be interesting to see how this concept spreads to other schools. So can we hand over to Kay Harrop? Thanks.
Hi.
Well done.
Hi there. Thank you. Hi everyone, my name's Kay Harrop. I am a middle leader at Evergreen Primary School. My role is mental and physical health and wellbeing lead, which has come from a history of being a PE teacher in mainstream schools whilst running a dance school for 26 years, which I don't do anymore, but my focus now is into this role at school. Can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. What we'd looked at as part of my role was to try and get a whole school approach about pupil wellbeing. So I created a wellbeing scale of level of need, and my role was to try and provide interventions for those children who need some support with regards to their physical health, their mental health and their emotional regulation. Now just a little bit of background on our school. So we are in County Durham, based in Bishop Auckland, and we are a full SEN school with children who have a range of disabilities, and over the last 10 years of me working here, we've seen more complex and comorbidities coming through. So we really felt that the wellbeing of the children is at the centre of their learning, and we wanted to try and tackle any of those needs out there and really be able to make sure that our children are getting the best education, and that they can access that education because they're ready to learn and they're happy and they're safe in the environment that we provide. So we looked at these 3 areas, and every child in the school was rated on their level of need, with 0 being there was no need and 4 being that there was an extreme need. Can we go on to the next slide, please? So the priorities for our year was to build on pupil self-confidence and self-esteem, and try and provide opportunities for those children who were feeling like that, and with having their mental health needing that kind of extra support within their mental health, being able to do that across classes. We were wanting to try and make connections where children may not have had friendships before, and be able to ensure that everyone is celebrating their differences and being able to be proud of who they were. So that's kind of where we came from. The next slide, please. So with having a background in dance and musical theatre, I wanted to help the kind of creative side of our school develop, as well as tackle the wellbeing side. So with some help from other staff in our school who have kind of suggestions and ideas and experience in the creative arts, we pulled together and we decided that we would do a Lion, Witch in the Wardrobe musical production. So my mum was my dance teacher years ago, and she worked in a special needs school in Sunderland for 26 years. And she enjoyed doing creative arts, and it was just an extension of that, really. So I can't take any credit for the ideas, really. My mum did help me along the way. But yeah, so what we did was we had any children who showed any interest coming along to the musical theatre sessions, but then we also encouraged those children who'd been identified using the wellbeing scale to come along and have a try. And the entry for this production and this project was really positive. We had 48 pupils that were interested, as well as the children who we'd identified that we would like to kind of use this idea with, who some of them came along in straight away and were really up for the idea, and throughout the time of us preparing for this performance, we did have a lot of kind of on and off influences with regards to our children's needs. So for example, if they had some issues with their confidence, then they didn't come a few weeks, or they would come back again. Or some of our children do have complex needs, so they had the time off if they needed to go and self-regulate, or if they had some behaviour issues or what have you, we would be on and off. So the kind of bringing together and the culmination of creating the script writing, and because we wrote it together, so the children were able to take the story and the synopsis of the story and the ideas of each of the scenes, and be able to put the words in themselves, so that the words that they wanted to use to characterize the character that they were portraying, give them a little bit of ownership. And then once that had been written, or that the scene was set, it was important that we tried to keep those children coming together. So it was a bit of a logistical nightmare, to be honest, to try and make sure everybody was there at the right time, or who was able to access musical theatre at that time, or whether they were ready to learn. But all of these attributes were part of the learning process and part of the development of the children that we were aiming for. So we were really pleased that we were able to get to a finishing point. We moved on to using role models within it. So this is a little clip just of us practicing, and this was actually put on the portal at school. So all of the classes in the whole school could practice this. So even if some of our children weren't confident enough to come to the main hall and be with everyone from mixed classes, they could practice within their classroom in a safe and more secure environment for them. So we'll just have a quick look at this, and you can see so we have some children there at the front and at the back who are using different sensory differences to be able to access this. But we also have children with some cognitive development issues who even now, so that this performance was at the end of April And even now, if I walk down the corridor, they stop and they start doing that thing where I'm hitting my knees. And that's their only method of communication. They're non-verbal, but they know that that's who they kind of identify me as. And they really enjoyed the performance part. So this is just a photograph. This isn't a video, but we do have the video if anybody would like to have a look. But as you can see in the background, we've got a backdrop. We've got a big door that was created by our PMLD classes. So the whole school got behind it. And even if our children didn't want to take part in the creative performance element, they were able to take part in the creative backdrops and set design element. We had 48 pupils who performed, and then an extra 52 who took part. So that was over 100 children altogether who had made or contributed to the performance or the event itself. We did 3 performances for the parents, and the parents who came on the first day came on all of the days because they really enjoyed the performances. So we used the just to kind of review where we were at, we reviewed the wellbeing scale, and we found children and targeted those children who we thought would be interested in something like the creative health musical theatre production. We used different approaches with regards to behaviour or some of our expertise with our therapists to be able to come along. Children learn to perform to deadlines, working together, working under pressure, building their resilience, and being able to actually be part of something that they never thought they would be part of. And it was really nice to be able to acknowledge their achievements and put on a kind of after party and a trophy and certificate ceremony to really be able to celebrate the achievements that the children had made. So I'm sorry if I've rambled on a bit too much there. I think I might have gone over time. But yeah, thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for giving us a highly award commended.
Thank you very much, Kay. That's wonderful.
Did, if we just hit the return, I think we're just waiting for the slide to come up. Thanks, Alice.
So the next highly commended is Tin Arts in partnership with Steel River Academy Trust. That's the STAR project. So the judges said this project is excellent evidence of partnership working and the benefit of this to children and families involved. It evidences the breaking down of stereotypes of those involved in dance and the health benefits of movement-based activity. Its structure is also easily replicable across the NENC and beyond. So I think Catherine's going to talk about this. And so this isn't awarded, this project has not received any funding as it was a network initiated project. Thanks, Catherine.
Okay,
well
thank
done.
you. Thank you very much. So it's been lovely hearing about all the other projects this morning. So thank you very much for the invitation, Heather and Jade. My name's Catherine Grabham. I'm from Tin Arts. We're an arts organisation based in Durham, just outside Durham City, but we work across the northeast. And I'm going to talk about the South Tees Arts Project, or STAR. So STAR is a dance project. It's taken place to date in areas of South Tees which have high levels of deprivation, with the aim of increasing access to the arts and thereby improving the health and well-being, both physical and mental, of the people taking part. So in 22-23 academic year, we ran STAR for the second time, following on from the pilot in the previous year. So the pilot project was a year-long project working in 2 schools in South Tees. So that was Grangetown Primary School and Thornhill Academy. And that first iteration, the pilot of STAR, was followed by researchers from Teesside, Newcastle and Huddersfield universities. And their research demonstrated through STAR the physical and mental well-being benefits of taking part in dance and in wider arts activities, by supporting participants to express themselves creatively, to develop self-awareness, identity, social and emotional learning skills. So we were really fortunate when it came to STAR 2 that we could use this evidence and research to get the best out of STAR 2 and make it an evidence-based project. So in STAR 2, we worked with 3 schools in the Steel River Academy Trust, and we engaged with every child in each school. So each class at school had an 8-week block of dance activities and STAR wider engagement activities. So as I say, every child in the school could be involved. Yeah, so as was mentioned at the beginning, this was a network initiated project, so we're really fortunate to work with the network and benefit from all of Heather's guidance, experience, knowledge. We worked with the Steel River Academy Trust with the 3 primary schools. We worked with Northern Ballet, who provided the art that acted as a prompt inspiration for the children, and introduced resilience themes to STAR. And we worked with Children North East, who provided family support workers to help us bring the whole family on the STAR journey. So what did STAR 2 look like? So each child had the opportunity to take part. They had an 8-week dance programme with artists from Tin Arts, and each of those 8 weeks ended in a celebration event, so families could share in the children's experience. So that was either inviting families into school or sharing a video of the children performing. So STAR aims to engage families throughout the project. That might be by taking home activities, by bringing families into school to see the children dance, and video updates from the dance artists. It also STAR moves away from the dance sessions to the classroom, where class teachers were able to explore the themes of STAR in greater depth with the children. And those themes came from the emotional resilience framework, which is linked here. If anybody is interested, they can have a look at this link. And the themes were introduced by the digital work, so by Ugly Duckling by Northern Ballet for the younger children. Key Stage 1 children explored the themes of being included and feeling left out. And the older children, Key Stage 2 children, took inspiration from Merlin by Northern Ballet, which explored themes of identity. And as I mentioned, we worked closely with Children North East on this project, who provided family support. So particular families were identified by schools, and Children North East were able to work with those children and their families in school and in their family home to support with the emotional resilience themes that came from STAR. And there was monitoring and evaluation throughout the project. So after each 8-week cohort we could tweak, improve, take on feedback on the project. So this slide shows the reach of STAR. So working in 3 primary schools, we were able to deliver 336 workshop sessions delivered by the 2 Tin Arts dance practitioners. We reached 1,050 pupils and 84 class teachers. So the impact of STAR, so these figures come from the university research that followed STAR 1. So pupils reported that as a result of participating in STAR, 74% of pupils felt particularly creative, 73% felt fit, 67% felt well, 66% felt happy, and 64% felt confident as a result of engaging with STAR. Also from the university research, teachers reported that children were more engaged in class, they were better at listening, there was less disruptive behaviour, improved creativity, literacy and social skills. Parents reported that they were proud to see the achievements of their children and celebrate that with them. The dance artists reported that the STAR activity and the dance sessions contributed to children's social, cognitive, physical skills, as well as creativity, and increased their confidence. And the family support link workers reported that the support through the STAR project enabled better behaviour at home, increased social networks for families, and families being more able to meet the emotional needs of their children. And this is a nice visual from the researchers showing the words that the children, families, teachers they interviewed mentioned. So if anyone is interested in finding out more about the STAR project, there's resources on the Tin Arts website. Feel free to look at, share, disseminate. I'd recommend as a starting point the STAR overview film, which gives a good insight into the project. Could I have the next slide, Charlotte? For Charlotte. Yes, so I'm really happy that Charlotte was able to join us this morning to talk about STAR from the school perspective. So Charlotte has worked with us for 2 years for both iterations of the project, and she's been an amazing advocate and a great person to work with. So thank you for joining us, Charlotte.
Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Charlotte. I'm the head teacher at Grangetown Primary School. I just wanted to share with you the amazing impact that the STAR project has had on the school. Firstly, the impact on our children. So the community I serve, my school has 78.6% free school meals. We're one of the highest in the whole of the country. And a lot of our children don't get opportunities to go to dance classes or have creative sessions outside of school. So from a cultural capital point of view, the STAR project ticked a lot of boxes for us. We wanted to be able to encourage our children to be part of dance and the arts, and for them to be able to challenge stereotypes. You know, the boys, a lot of our boys in year 6 at first shied away from some of the dances, but actually through this process and through them being involved with the 8-week blocks, they were the ones that ended up shining at the end of it. And it was so lovely to see that we were challenging those stereotypes. There's been a really positive impact on staff. The CPD element of staff being involved in the sessions with Tin Art dancers has been amazing. They've been able to see it on a weekly basis. They've been able to share ideas and learn techniques straight away, which has been brilliant. And staff as well, seemed to develop confidence over the sessions. For some of them who didn't have a dance background like myself, they kind of shied away from it, and once they found their feet, it was lovely to see them develop with their confidence. And lastly, the parents, the impact it has on our parents. Being involved with staff from the start has been a great journey to be on, and to see how it's developed from the pilot to where we are now. And our parents have been on that journey too. In the pilot, we took some of our parents to the theatre to see the ballet, and a lot of the responses were they don't speak in it. They hadn't realised that dance, you know, was a way of communicating and showing emotions, and so they went on that journey with us, that we were able to kind of give them a widening of understanding and experiences as a family, which was amazing. And also having that link worker has been really important to us as a school. So having the family support worker there who's been able to go to some of our most vulnerable families and work with them and help them with parenting and with behaviour techniques has just been a real positive for us as a school, and I'm just really grateful that we've been able to be involved with it. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. And just finally, we have a short video to hear from the children who were involved with STAR.
In dancing, it's a really fun way to get all your expressions out and help your mental health. Because they make me nice and calm. Because it's getting you fit, like when you're dancing and stuff.
And to be able to like make up stories through body language and without speaking.
It makes me feel like I'm in a place of happiness.
It's just very calming and relaxing when we do all of the like exercises.
With writing and things, it's just you're very stressed and tense. But with dancing, you can be creative and you can do what you think is right. Get to show off my creativity and my skills of dancing. It's very good because you're like sad. It gets you more happier. Because before I go and dance, I've got super excited. And it gets all your sadness out of your body and angriness out of your body. With dance, you get a break from reality and you get to relax and just let yourself be yourself. You're allowed to be yourself.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
That's so emotional. Thank you so much, Catherine. Is that it from you? Yeah, thank you.
It is, yes. Thank you very much.
I think that film is amazing. I think so many of I think it's about showing the people who it's impacting, and I really would like to show some of these films at the ICB at the actual board, which I don't think that's happened. So I think I'm going to try and encourage more of this to happen. So it's so wonderful to have those films. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And I think it really shows that we're working with people that are very creative, because the way they've shared the message with us has been very creative. And as you've mentioned, it makes it more impactful, which is testament to why we want to promote creative health for the well-being of the young people in the region. So fabulous. Just slightly behind time, but that's not a problem because we've still got discussion time now up until 10 to 12, which is great. And the chat has been so fabulous. There's lots in there already. There's lots of different frameworks. The importance of family, linking in with family has come through as a strong theme. And I will open by passing to Chris in a moment, because I know he'll be delighted at that, because that was one of the founding reasons of why we wanted to focus in primary schools, is because you've still got relatively easy access into those families, as to when you've got older young people, you don't necessarily get within the school environment as easily. So that's been fabulous. Just to say a huge sort of thank you, and how in awe we are at the work that everyone's done. I think at Dunn Street, that family involvement and the photographs, and I think you really demonstrated what reaching out into your LSEPs can reap. So I think people watching this back might be thinking, oh, okay, how might we do that if we wanted to be a project in the future? Elliot Smith, it is so powerful to see those young people using dance to express themselves into something that's a really important topic as well. It's kind of not only the health and well-being, but also that communicative tool as well, for those young people that otherwise might not have known contemporary dance. Bridgewater, powerful is the word that's coming out for all of these, but the feedback from the young people and how they're using it to focus and explore their emotions. And we know that statistics with young people and the increased levels of anxiety and mental health need, that is so critical. And Jenny, you get the award for the funkiest background. Evergreen Primary, and that lovely generational interest, and I think that again demonstrates the importance of family, because you articulate it yourself, Jen and Kay, sorry, and the use of wellbeing scales, and that's come up a lot in the chat, and there's lots of different examples. So I'm going to be handing over to people that are going to be saying, oh, can we have that? What's the difference between X and Y? So I'm giving you time to think up your questions, guys. And Star, and I've written a quote, Charlotte, thank you so much for coming. Amazing impact that Star had on our school, and I think that is priceless as well. And to me, Star, it really demonstrates the partnership. Star came with lots of disparate people coming together to say, what can we do that is creative for the young people in this area? So it really demonstrates the fabulous work that Tin Heart have pulled all that together, but it shows that great partnership working. So thank you, Catherine, with that. So we have got the experts that have shared all your knowledge today, and we've got experts panels as well with Chris and Alice and Mel and Wendy. And Kate was here, but I think she's had to dip out again for the important meeting. But if you are still here, Kate, you're included in that. Chris, can I pass to you, because I know you'd asked some questions on the legacy of some of the work.
Unmute myself. Thanks very much, Heather. First of all, just sort of congratulations. This is foundation year for these awards, and we've seen a whole range of brilliant projects. I think there's some questions in terms of how do we spread the word. We've already heard mention of this as a social movement. How do we make sure that this is an effective social movement? And how do we sort of, I mean, I'm aware that school budgets are squeezed at the moment. There's not a lot of money around in the system. How do we sort of create the funding to make more of this happen? And my final question was, how do we feed this back to Ofsted so that we begin to influence, if you like, the school inspection regimes, which I know are all dear to your hearts? Any thoughts?
Amazing comments there, Chris. And I love, from a social movement perspective, I think it's really articulating that call to action. So we drive all our energy into the same direction. Alice, can I come to you on that point, please? How do we spread the work effectively? How do we create that social movement? And how do we get it into the school process and Ofsted? Oh, you're on mute, Alice.
Sorry.
It's doing what mine does. It goes on and off,
jumps back on. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yes, no, we definitely need to do something about shared language, because I think that will help build the movement if we know what each other are talking about. Because sometimes if I talk about creative health, people don't know what you're talking about, because it used to be called arts in health. Now we moved away from arts in health because arts was seen as too narrow. People thought of it as being to do with the visual arts. We wanted it to have a more creative, bigger role. So I do think sharing that language in conversations with your schools might be good. I was going to ask a question because I think there's something about partnership in terms of raising the profile, and obviously the network's doing a really good job about that. But I do think it would be interesting to hear from people whether in your local schools you know about the local arts organisations in your area and the ones that are delivering work with people, so kind of creative health work, because I think that's really important to have local partnerships where the arts organisations know which schools want to work with them, and that process being easier, because I know there have been issues with that. And then in terms of raising it in terms of finance, I think that's part of my role, definitely. And but I think once the demand is there, and once particularly health see these brilliant projects, I think it's going to be an easier road to getting funding out. So can I open that up about whether people know about their local arts organisations or who they work with in terms of getting this work?
Over to the schools. So I don't know if Charlotte's still with us. There's Jen. Okay, can you?
We've worked historically a lot with CLAM. I think you're still on this call, aren't you? And we did a project a few years ago funded by Paul Hamlin. Unfortunately, it fell in lockdowns and over the main COVID period. But so we changed the focus. We wanted to link to oracy and given children from deprived backgrounds the chance to, have those skills to look at art and appreciate art, and also to use art as a mode for well-being. So it links a lot with what we're talking about now. So we really want to be getting our children out to those museums, a bit like one of our colleagues was talking about earlier, giving them those opportunities to go to the theatre, go to art galleries.
I've just lost your sound there. I don't know if others have. Have you gone on mute?
On.
Oh, you came back very momentarily then. There you are.
Really bad microphone. I'm so sorry. I should invest in a better microphone for this thing. I don't know how much you heard, but it was just saying, about opening those doors for our children and families as well. Getting that the fact that a lot of these things are free, archives, museums, and building that cultural capital, but also how that can improve mental health and opportunities for our families and children.
Fabulous. So I'm hearing you have good connections, but you'd like to improve them even more.
Yeah, and it was a great start, but it fell during that COVID time, and we do want to sort of, keep that up and keep the profile of that up and keep those opportunities going for the next generations of children coming through, not just being a one-off, it being sustained. I think is what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
I can see Kay nodding there.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have partnerships, and it does actually kind of raise the profile in the area. With our project, it being in its first year here, it was trying to replicate something that I'd worked with in a different area. So my kind of experience working with partnerships in this area, I don't really have any. So if anyone's got any kind of advice about that, that would be really helpful. Our school does have cultural links and links with the museums at Bishop Auckland, and particularly with the Auckland project. But I think it's about perceptions about what art is. I think that was right with regards to having dance as part of art, or dance as part of like PE and physical movement and physical development. But I also think that could be a benefit because the School Sports Premium Fund is also there as well. So if you can kind of hit targets in both areas, then you've got another pot of funding that you could look into. I just want to use this platform as well to thank Martin Warden. He provided our staging and our lighting and our technical work from Highlights Company. They're really good. I know they do a lot of work in the community in the local area, But we've worked with them since I was very young, and always ends up bringing miles more things than what I've paid for, just to kind
So
of
those
enhance
fabulous connections, yeah. So you're utilising your fabulous connections, but also it's important that we help map those if we can in these roles, yeah. And useful point about the use of the school sports premium as well. I can see Wendy's got her hand up. Can I bring you in, Wendy, at that point?
Oh yeah, you can. A couple of points really. So I suppose there's two issues, isn't there, in terms of delivery of the art projects or creative projects within school or approaches within schools. So you've got the issue about developing partnerships with external organisations to come into school and deliver, and as just been said, funding is a massive issue. You know, where schools are really strapped for cash, their budgets have got to stretch so far. So there is that issue about where the funding can be accessed from, and you know, it has been said much more eloquently than I'm saying it, getting it onto those, you know, correct strategic partnerships to try and access some of those funds. But then on the other part of it, it's the school's own whole school approach in supporting the emotional well-being of children, isn't it? And it's about, you know, we've seen today how we've got some excellent school-based staff who've got a wealth of experience and skills. And it's about schools looking at their current staff and what they can bring to that agenda, really, and thinking about how it can be introduced into the curriculum, in enrichment. So yeah, I think it's sort of like two separate parts of the whole. And I think the third thing is, you know, primary schools are wonderful, they're creative, they've got a relationship with parents, you know, they've got that nurturing role with their pupils, but we need to think about how the agenda can be pushed in secondary settings as well. You know, they don't necessarily have that relationship with parents. I know across South Tees it's a massive priority locally about how we engage better with parents on a wide range of issues. And I know that a lot of our secondary schools really struggle with that. So I think that, you know, something around how we support secondaries better.
Thank you, Wendy, for that shout out for secondary schools, and we do acknowledge that in the wider agenda, but some really helpful points on this sort of quite complex mapping of the sport, the emotional well-being, the art. You know, it's pulling all these threads together, isn't it? And looking at it when you're thinking of your strategy, your staffing, the skill sets and the funding opportunities. I can see, Chris, you've got your hand up, and Mel, your hand up was first. So is that all right? Or Chris, was your point direct in response to Wendy's there?
Happy to follow, Mel.
Okay, lovely. Thanks. Thanks, Mel. Over to you. And I had noted down, I was keen that you highlighted your Arts Connect link that you've put in the chat as well.
Yes, I will do. Just while we're on the subject of partnerships, I would just urge everyone to find out more about their local LSEP, so their local cultural education partnership. I know there's lots of people here today that are already connected with them, and I know that we've heard from Dunn Street and their work as part of their work with the brilliant South Tyneside LSEP. But for those of you that don't know, then LSEPs are cross-sector partnerships that are place-based and look at how the arts and culture can address some of those wider needs and issues for children and young people in their local area. And in the Northeast, there's one. We've got 8 altogether, but there's one everywhere. So basically, wherever you are in the Northeast, then there's an LSEP for you. They're largely local authority based, so they're linked to local authorities, with one big one for the Tees Valley. So do get in touch with me. I've put my email in the chat if you'd like to be connected with your local LSEP, and just thinking about how you can find out about what's happening in your area, what organisations are out there to work with. And I would say that the vast majority of our LSEPs do have health and wellbeing as a massive focus of their work. So there's lots of things happening around that already out there. And just in response to Heather, I put in the chat a link to a report that was commissioned by Arts Connect, who were the bridge organisation for the West Midlands, and it's a pre-COVID report, so some of it is slightly less relevant now than it was then, but it was an enormous piece of consultation carried out with young people about their views on arts and culture and how they access the arts, what they view as arts and culture, what counts as that for them, what the barriers are, all of those different things. It's a really fascinating read and I'd really recommend it, but I linked it in the chat because I was thinking about all of the links with families, parents and carers that we've talked about this morning. What that consultation found was that family was the biggest influencer in terms of whether children and young people felt able to engage with the arts, and they were the biggest kind of the biggest factor in terms of what they felt was for them, what they felt wasn't, what recommendations they took. And we found that all the way up to teenagers as well. So you'd think that would drop off a bit as they got a bit older, but even the older young people, it was parents and carers that were the biggest influence in terms of what they were accessing. So I'd recommend having a look at that.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for the important comment there on the LSEPs. So, and I'm just going to come over to Chris now, but before I do, if there's one final question from anyone that's just been observing today that they want to have, but I'll come to Chris, and if anyone else wants to put the hand up, I might have time for one question after Chris. Fabulous. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Heather. Quick comment on Wendy mentioned the issue of school culture. It kind of raises the question in terms of, we've probably got an atypical school audience here today. How do we engage with those schools who don't necessarily see this sort of approach as a priority, particularly those schools in our more disadvantaged areas? Because that whole issue around social and emotional learning is key for me. The second point was primary is really about laying the foundations for secondary. It's about building self-confidence, self-esteem, but it's also about engaging with parents. School attendance is in the news again today because of increasing rates of poor school attendance post-COVID. Engaging with parents is key for school attendance. And if you can build engagement with parents in primary schools, I think that's more likely to carry over into secondary schools. So hence, if you like, the focus on primary and laying the foundations.
Fabulous. I think they're really important points, and I think there's some sort of key themes that are coming out here that I'm sure both myself, Martin and Alice will be having a meeting pretty much hot on the tail of this to look at how we might start to make some of those baby steps towards addressing some of those, and some of them sound simple, but we know through history communication is one of the biggest challenges in most projects anyway. But the importance of raising the profile in partnership, we've heard about the role of the creative artists to perhaps help map out some of the local artists in the area for the schools, the importance, Chris, of getting to the schools that aren't represented and we're not connected into yet, and encouraging them to consider arts and creativity. Alice has already highlighted the importance of finance within her role and the importance of sharing these fabulous resources, not only following today, but also with the wider ICB, as we've been doing in the network too. So I think there's some great things that have been highlighted. I think there's some really useful comments both in the chat, but also what people have articulated, that those that are watching this recording back thinking about, oh, how might we go about it? There's some really great top tips and areas that they can start to progress some of that work. So I will draw those discussions to a close, but I know that the connection and building our network for creative health will go forward, and we'll share the chat. So thank you so much for that helpful discussion. It's really important, and Chris mentioned Jade earlier, and she's top of my list for thank yous later, but the next slide is really down to Jade. She has created our brochure, which articulates the Creative Health Awards for this year and ongoing. So you will be shared this following today's event, along with the recording and the chat and all the useful links. So a fabulous shout out to Jade for creating it and collating it, and also for all those winning entries for sharing a summary. And it's a way that you can cascade your work. And we spoke about partnership and communication. So I ask everyone here today to make sure that they cascade their brochure on to at least 10 other organisations to say, look, have you seen this event? There's a new one. It's closing at the end of March. Can you make sure that you consider organisations that you might partner with and work that you're already doing that you might want to add to that? So thank you very much, Jade, for your hard work on that. Oh God, thanks Heather, thanks. So now we will go back over to Mel, who will talk about, so today's been a lot about our foundation, but the most important thing about your foundation is what you then build on top of that. We've got our 3-year commitment from our partners TWAM, which is fabulous. And so over to Mel to talk about the 23-24 awards process. Thanks, Mel.
Thanks, Heather. And just to give you a little bit of background first, just in case you're wondering what on earth a museum service has got to do with any of this, really. Some of you will know that Tyne and Wear Archives and Museums is a regional museum, art gallery and archive service. We've got 9 museums and galleries across Tyneside and the archives for Tyne and Wear. And we're supported by the 4 local authorities in Tyneside and Newcastle University. But we're also a national portfolio organisation funded by Arts Council England. And as part of that, as Heather mentioned earlier, from 2015 to 2023, then we were part of the National Bridge Network, managing the Culture Bridge North East programme. And as part of that work, we used some of our funding from our partnership investment programme to develop a 3-year partnership with the network. And it's that partnership that's led to the creation of the Arts and Creativity Advisor role that Martin spoke about earlier, and has really started to increase those opportunities for the health and culture and education sectors to come together to work towards healthier lives for children and young people. So now here we are, we're post-Bridge Network, and TWAM now has the Regional Cultural Learning Team, which I lead, and we continue that legacy of Culture Bridge North East. So we continue to champion those cross-sector partnerships, breaking down those barriers to young people accessing cultural opportunity and working with the LSEPs that I mentioned before. But as part of that work, then we're really delighted to announce that we'll be leading on these Creative Health Awards for the next 3 years and continuing to celebrate these high-quality partnerships. And it's been amazing to see the work today, and I can't wait to see what else comes up in future years. And just going back to Chris's point as well about how do we kind of increase knowledge of what we're doing and how do we increase funding around that. I think a big part of that is shouting about it. So it's been brilliant to hear today about work that I just wouldn't have known about before now. So if you've been sitting and listening to this year's great projects and you're thinking, oh, I've got something I'd like to nominate for next year, then this is the bit where you find out kind of how you do that, really. So if you're a school that's created or is planning a creative health project, and you'd like to nominate yourself for this year's awards, then you can use the QR code on this slide here to access the application form, which the network have kindly set up, or you can email the address on there as well. So we're looking for entries between now and the 31st of March. So that form will close 31st of March 2024. So please do have a look and get your information in, because we'd love to hear more from you. And I think Jade's got another slide. Oh, go on. Sorry, Heather. Were you going to say something else then?
I was just going to say fabulous and thank you. Yes, I think it was your that's the criteria. It was the link to your, there it is.
Brilliant, there it is. Sorry, this was a last minute addition to the slides, so I wasn't quite sure where that was going to pop up. We do have a half-termly newsletter called Creative Classrooms, which is full of opportunities for schools and the culture sector in general, but we will also put information in here about the awards. So you can use this link, which we'll also stick in the chat, or you can go to our website, which is twamschools.org.uk, and you can sign up for the newsletter there, and you can find out all about that. And the other thing that I'll give a really quick plug to and a bit of a signpost is the North East Cultural Learning Fund, which some of you might have come across before in its previous iteration as the CBNE Fund. We run this in partnership with the Community Foundation. It's open to schools across the North East, and we open in December for awards of up to £2,000. So if you've got an idea but you don't know how to fund it yet, then maybe look at that and then apply for the awards afterwards.
Fabulous. Thank you. And if that's added to the chat, we will cascade that. So if you can still just hold on for a couple more minutes, we pass over to Jen, who will share some elements of the network before I close today's huddle. Thanks, Jen. Jen's our fabulous network delivery manager who works into those underserved communities that you've all been highlighting the importance of today. And also she leads on our comms. So she is doubly important to all of this. So it's great that she's been with us today. Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Heather. A flying 30 seconds, I promise you. If you just move on, Jade. This looks like quite a dry sort of infographic, and it probably is, but it probably can help support some of this work if you're looking to address an inequality in your local community, within your school community, with the local people that you work with in your creative organisation. There is some work that we are doing around this core 20+5 model, which is aimed at addressing health inequalities in children and young people. So if you're not sure where to target, you've got an idea for an intervention for some sort of creative project, but you don't know where to target or what you could focus on, this sort of model can help you work through some of the thinking around that. So if you're interested in this and learning a bit more about it, I appreciate I've told you nothing of the detail around it, but you may well find it quite useful. So do please get in touch with the network if you want to understand a bit more about core 20+5. We just move on to Healthier Together, Jade, thank you. And this, I've popped a link in the chat a bit further up about downloading the Healthier Together app. So this is our sort of main focus going into winter around children's health and common winter illnesses that a lot of you working in schools will be more than familiar with. So this is a tool really that we've been promoting all year round, but in the winter it really sort of comes into its own. And if we're looking at trying to improve attendance, and if parents aren't sure about whether they can send their child to school or not, if they've got X, Y, or Z symptoms, Healthier Together is the tool that you can use in your school to promote to parents, to give them that reliable NHS advice about whether their child should be in school or not, and also which healthcare service they can access or what they should be accessing based on how poorly their child is and what their symptoms are. So there's plenty of information you can read through on these slides when you get them, but the next slide has the QR codes to the apps that you can download on either Google or Apple stores. So there is a toolkit to accompany this for schools to be able to put things in your parents' newsletters and that sort of thing, or if you've got a page on your website you could use. We will be sending that out very soon. We're just finalising the content for that. So that will go out to all schools that we sort of have contact with. But again, as Heather mentioned, using that network to send things out more widely, cascade where you can, and try and put this on people's radar for the winter, because it will really help parents manage some of that anxiety around their children's ill health over the winter and hopefully improve school attendance as well. Thank you. If you just move on, Jade. This is just a programme of webinars that we're also planning. So if you're really interested in Healthier Together, the Healthier Together champions, that how to use Healthier Together to support winter pressures, #1 there. That will help give you a really good overview of how it works and how you can use it in your organisation or school setting to support through the winter. Thanks, Jade. And this is just a little extra add-on that we've been asked to share through the ICB. So this is around flu vaccinations for preschoolers, primary and secondary age pupils. So there is lots of information around that as well to share with parents. If you're interested in having anything to share with parents on this, please do get in touch with us as well. Thank you. And just finally, there's lots of ways that you can engage with us. We have our network membership list, so the link is right at the top of the chat. I'll pop it in again if anyone's missed it. To join our network, you'll be on our comms distribution list, and it'll make sure that you receive everything that we send out, so you don't miss any other opportunities to engage with our work. Thanks, Jade. And that's our most recent newsletter. You can move on. And that's just a little summary of the ways that you can engage with us. Please do join the network. You'll receive our regular weekly email bulletin with everything that's going on within our wider network community, as well as other sort of ad hoc opportunities to engage with us. And there's just a reminder there about Health Heal Together as well. Thank you. There we go. More links for you. When you get the slides, all of these are clickable, but I'll put some more in the chat for you. Thank you, Heather.
Fabulous. Thank you ever so much, Jen, and really helpful the way you drew out those bits there that are going to be most relevant for the people on the call today and with the chat. So thank you so much. So quickly, just closing with some thank yous. And today wouldn't have happened without two people. I've already acknowledged and embarrassed Chris for his huge part in that. And also it's Jade who's been behind the scenes. And I have said, why don't you come off your camera and then say a few words, but she's happier to be behind the scenes. So thank you to both Jade and Chris for making these awards so notable. And we hope that we're going to make sure that we use these as a springboard for future years. Thank you to all our foundation year entries and winners. We're so delighted you could join us today and give you a platform to cascade some of that fabulous work. We hope you will all submit entries for next year, and you will encourage colleagues and other people within your networks to do the same. Thank you to the fabulous panel, both Wendy and Kate and Chris for judging the entries, but also the wider panel today with Alice and Mel and Martin, who was here virtually. Thank you to my network colleagues, Louise and Jen, that fabulously topped and tailed the event today. And a final thank you to everyone that is going to be the future of these awards, and all the people that are watching this and have taken part, thinking about how they're going to submit entries for the next 3 years and how they're going to engage with Martin and Alice and myself for how we're going to fly the flag for creative health within the North East and North Cumbria. So thanks ever so much. Thanks for staying on a couple of extra minutes, and do stay in contact with us. Thanks. Bye.